Go flat tracker, go flat tracker, go, go, go.
The Kelpie Flat Track Pod, brought to you by our partners, Shread for the sickest jersey prints in the biz, Euroka Fencing for all your rural farming fencing needs, classic wheels, spokes and Otway hydroblasting, making your old girl look new again, and of course Kelpie, keeping you on track for longer. Now let's get into the episode.
Hello and welcome to the Kelpie Flat Track Pod. I am your host, Darcy Claver. And this is a bit of a special one, really, end of an era. It's the very last one for 2023 and also the very last Kelpie Flat Track Pod ever. So from here on out, we will be the Claver Flat Track Pod. It's taken me a little bit to get my head around it. The whole rebranding thing is happening a little bit slower than I was hoping. You forget how many aspects are involved, how many turning wheels and cogs there are. But we're getting there. That's the main thing. So KLAV, not my surname, no E. It is numerology for number one. But this one is our last Kelpie Flat Track Pod. It's been a fantastic year. I just wanted to say a few words before we get into the actual episode, and that's just thanking all you guys for tuning in and supporting me and listening in and commenting and giving me feedback at the track and just it's shown appreciation at the track, etc., etc. It's been fantastic. It's kept me going. It isn't always easy fitting it in. I'm just like everyone else doing my normal stuff and trying to keep a family afloat, etc., all that sort of thing. Race teams happening now. 2024 is looking very exciting. Calendars are pretty much out for most clubs around Australia. Lots of exciting news. Obviously, most of you will know that now for 2024 that the Aussie Flat Track Nationals, Dave Maddock has done it, and it is now a championship, an Australian championship with a series, 6-round series. That's fantastic. That's what we were all aiming for and what we wanted. So it's happened. It's become a reality, and it can only move forward from here, surely. So keep up the good work, everyone, supporting these events and these people like myself putting themselves out there and giving it a crack. It does take a bit of money, takes a lot of effort. The money's secondary, really, to compare to the effort that's involved. If you were paying us by hour, that would never happen. I'm pretty certain that there's a lot of voluntary hours that go into not only what I'm doing, but people that get behind me and help out where they can, and people that are helping Dave Maddock and the AFTN and all clubs in general. To be honest, that's how it happens without people getting in there and putting in the effort, and quite often there's no money reward for them. This stuff wouldn't happen. So keep it up, keep up the good work all through 2024, guys. It's been fantastic to see how things are developing. Lyndall Butler put out a bit of a group together of dirt track calendar. It's chock a block. And now I'm pretty sure the Harley Club wasn't in there. The Skylift series was in there. We'll do that on our first Claver Flat Track Pod, I think. And talk about some of the events that are going to happen. I still haven't sorted out. I've had a few questions about the Victorian flat track, but still haven't sorted all that out. That is what I'm trying to do in between everything else. So just look, it's going to be later in the year anyway. So I'll say that much. I do think it's going to happen. How it's going to happen, I have no idea, but we'll work through that one. This episode is actually really cool. Someone reached out to me. It's an example of someone reaching out to me. He's the vice president of Mount Panorama Motorcycle Club, Wade Carter, and I'm glad he did. We had a great chat. I think you guys will take a lot out of it. He's one of the organisers of the Bathurst meeting that you all know about, surely. It's one of the biggest track meetings in Australia on the showgrounds there at Bathurst. So you'll get a lot of insight out of that. Entries open January 5th this year. So make sure you get. I was talking to people at our Christmas party, our club Christmas party, and people was talking about sitting there ready. So whether you're at work or you have to organise someone to get your entry in, because I think they will go pretty quick. On the AFTN on entries, It's not capped next year. Interesting move. So it will be exciting to see how that goes, and I hope that he does get over the numbers to where some people won't make it to the main or main event. And it just brings in the reality of competition. From the survey that we recently did, most people are open to uncapped events. So it wasn't a foregone conclusion, but yeah, I've actually got to sit down and figure out the stats on that one. But yeah, most people from my survey said they were happy with it being uncapped and the chance of, only doing a couple practice sessions and a couple qualifying. And on that note, when you go, oh, that's not much for your money and that, but when you think 5 minutes, how many laps you'll get in 5 minutes, so times that by 4, I sort of averaged it out. I think you get about 20 laps or so in 5 minutes. So that's still 80 laps. That's almost, it's pretty much more than a dirt track meet when you're racing in competition. So you're still getting seat time. So anyway, I'm going to stop dribbling on. Just once again, thank you so much for all your support to Kelpie, our brand. And I hope it continues over the club. Nothing's changing apart from this gives us an opportunity to actually, get some merch happening this time. And I held back on a lot of things because I didn't know what the legal outcome was going to be with the trademark thing. So I own the trademark for Clava this time. I've got it right, and so it's only moving forward from here on in. So yeah, please continue to support. I really appreciate it. We've done some great things. We've given away over 10 grand in prize and products during 2023 to riders to help them on their career paths and to help support the industry in general. Some of that was sponsorship money, some of that was gate prizes, some of that was the Kelpie Cup prize money. So yeah, we've really achieved a lot in our first full year of being in business, and that's really thanks to you guys for buying our products and supporting me. So really do appreciate it, and we want to just make it bigger and bigger and better every year. So if you can stick with me, that's great. Any feedback's it is recommended and appreciated. So yeah, if you think there's something, don't be shy. I'll get over it if it hurts my feelings initially, but I do tend to look at things and say, well, this person's saying it for a reason. Have a deeper look into it, and it might help me resolve a few things. So yeah, there's no bad criticism at all. So yeah, anyway, I am rambling now. So last Kelpie flat track pod ever. Last one for 2023. Let's get into it. Yeah, so welcome to another episode of Kelpie Flat Track Pod. I'm here with Vice President of the Mount Panorama Motorcycle Club. I've got that right, haven't I? Wade Carter.
Yeah.
How you going, Wade?
Doing well, thanks, Darcy. How are you, mate?
Yeah, excellent. Whereabouts are you? It's an interesting background you've got there.
I'm in my office at my workshop in Bathurst.
Yeah, okay. And what's your workshop? What do you do there?
We're a design, engineering, fabrication, mechanical fitting company. So,
okay.
Bit of everything.
So hence, probably why you're into motorcycles. A lot of people with that sort of background and that like to tinker and play around and stuff. So is the workshop got motorcycles in it, or it's strictly business?
No, this is strictly business, but I've got a good shop at home. I'm a mechanic by trade and a fitter welder by trade, so there's not too much I can't kind of tinker with or break or fix.
Yeah, right. So it was interesting. I was on my phone, as I quite often am, and a message came through from yourself saying that you were listening to the James Sorty podcast and that you'd like to talk about Bathurst and give us a bit of history, because obviously we know nothing. So I'm hoping that you've got oodles and oodles history for us. And also, what were we just talking about before? Oh, yeah, Forbes. I think it was 2022 that at the track titles at Forbes, you said that we met there, which I'm really sorry, but I can't really remember it. But
no, I was intrigued by your block 19-inch front tire, and that's why we were talking back at Forbes. But yeah, no, it was quite funny because last week I got a text message about that James did a podcast with you, so I went and had a listen, and then scrolled back and saw the one for for Bathurst, and then I had a listen as I was driving home from Sydney, and then and I'm sitting there trying to want to butt into the podcast to correct a few things and defend myself.
Good.
And
good.
I'm like, oh, bugger this! I'll send the guy a message and tell him to fire away.
Yeah, sweet. So, how many things did we get wrong?
Nah, not too many. No, it was actually kind of funny because it was you mentioned in the podcast. You mentioned about you were disappointed that the B group of 19s class didn't get recognition or a trophy, and I'm like, well, you shouldn't have been in the B group if you wanted recognition.
Yeah, well, that's quite true. And look, we did get a mention in some of the articles that were released anyway, so that's good enough. But yeah, no, it is. It is exactly like that. But I'd love to be in the A group, but yeah, I'm probably a few years behind that now.
Keep working towards it, eh?
Yeah, but that's the hard thing when you separate a class like that, and especially if you make two groups and then there's like a winning three, even though they're technically not the winning three, they feel like they've won because they did all the racing in that class. So that was more what I was getting at.
Yeah, I understood. I understood what you're getting at. I did understand. I just thought, well, I guess from our perspective with that, which is probably jumping a bit ahead, but being that it was never it was a trial class, something that's never ran around Bathurst before, and being that it was kind of new to the country, and Bathurst is not a track that people can come here and practice on and kind of test and tune prior to the event, we thought if we didn't run an A and a B, you're going to end up with the average weekend warriors getting run over by Brooksy and guys like that. So we thought we'd time trial them a little bit, try to break them up into groups and get them to so they were seated in their kind of their time positions rather than putting them out there with everybody that's fast.
And it does solve that problem of two if you're qualifying and then so this is quite a debate going on at the moment actually around the AFTN and other capped events as well, as if you end up having too many people, which is sort of the nature of racing though. If you're not good enough, then you're not going to make it through to the final. So but having those two groups means that everyone that's travelled a long way gets track time. So it's a double-edged sword. It's pretty hard to, I'm sure, as you know, behind the scenes, it's pretty hard to please everyone, and you never will please everyone. And it's hard to find that nice balance point, isn't it?
It is. Like my background's speedway cars. Like I raced speedway cars for 17 years, and it was nothing to turn up to a big sprint car show, and if you don't time trial and qualify, you don't make the main event, you go home. You might only do 15 laps for the night and you're gone. But that's just the nature of the beast. It's a cruel sport. I think events like Bathurst, in the last 2 years, they are classified as an open event, but they're not a national. They're not a national title, and to us, it's a glorified club day.
Yeah. Well, it gets so many people purely, I think, because of the size and shape of the track, isn't it? So, I mean,
well, you roll into the showground, and it's got that American fairground feel. Like it's very, Bathurst is the oldest inland city, and Bathurst Council and the Crown Lands Department spend a lot of money to maintain and keep that facility looking Mickey Mouse. So it's not like your every kind of country town showground. So it's big and the facilities are good, and the length of it, is perfect for long track, which is why it keeps coming back, I guess.
Yeah, and you got the advertising out early this year. It's in March next year, is that right? I haven't actually written my calendar yet, but so you've got good support from the council.
So everything's done. Event is rightfully sub-regular approved. All the permits are done. We can basically ready to fire now. So 1st and 2nd of March. There's a bit of conjecture why we're running in March. If we went back to the original end of the year dates, October, November is what it always kind of ran for 15 years. There's probably 7 good valid reasons why it's not in November, why we've moved it to March. But we end up with we're having it in March. You've got people with after Christmas fresh fresh budget, new bikes, the new season bikes are out.
Yeah.
People like myself who's running the event, we, with my kids all race, and I think we did 32 race meets or something this year, or 32 days of racing. You try to organise and plan a race like Bathurst long track whilst you're away racing, running a business and whatnot. And Bathurst is notorious for storm season in November.
Okay. Yeah.
And the sun sets in the west in a shit of a spot on the back straight. So you lose an hour to an hour and a half of the sun setting in the wrong spot, where in March it happens a bit quicker. But, the last 2 years we've been washed out around sunset. So there goes our theory of it not raining in March.
Yeah, well, I think no one, even the weathermen, can't predict the weather at the moment. I mean, it's been raining here non-stop, and then it was 32 degrees yesterday and not far off it today, and it's just unpredictable. What can you do? You just got to roll with it, isn't it? You got to make the event work for the club. So, and if that's what March means, then that's a good thing. Everyone will work around it.
Yeah, and I think, the one we ran earlier this year and last year, we were in a freakishly wet couple of years. Things have settled down a bit out here now, and it's starting to look back to what its normal kind of weather patterns are looking like. So who knows what it presents? I know this year we thought that storm was going to go around us. We didn't think it was going to get us, and it got us at a time that you're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't with the event. We really lost an hour and a half to the storm and an hour and a half to bringing the track back.
Yeah. It actually wasn't that bad. I mean, they were huge days, but that's what happens, and we're glad we got to race and keep racing. I'm glad that the rain didn't destroy it for everyone, and happy to wait that hour and a half or whatever it was.
We had a lot of, because these last 2 years we had online ticket sales. And the weather affected the people turning up because a lot of tickets were sold, and you can see that they weren't cashed in, So local people, it's a Bathurst. See, Panorama Motorcycle Club for the last 10 years has pretty well predominantly been a motocross club. The last 7 years, so previous to probably 7 years ago, they used to hold 3 or 4 enduro rounds, the one long track event, multiple grass tracks, and a few motocross, and their main thing, which is the motocross. At the last kind of 5 or 6 years, it's just been all motocross, and which has been a hard thing on the club, because the club was always known as a multidiscipline club. The club has never had its own dirt track facility. We're an hour from Woodstock, so Woodstock's our home dirt track, and Mount Panorama Motorcycle Club is our home club with motocross. My kids race motocross and dirt track and off-roads. So they do a bit of everything. But the club here, we were fortunate enough to have, the event ran for so many years here in town. We've got a good venue, 2.5 hours from Sydney, kind of very central, easy to get to, great facility. And we had a bit of a mud map for what the previous years had done. So it was kind of, we were wanting to bring it back. Hence what we did 2 years ago.
Yeah, and so you said it went for 15 years prior to that. Is that right?
So my records show that 1989, 89, 90, 91, 95, 96 through to 2005. And then 2006 to 2010, it went to Blaney. So 89 to 2005 was in Bathurst.
Yeah.
And then the club moved from Bathurst to Blaney, which is half an hour away, and it wasn't under lights, and it ran there for 7 years, and then 2014 come back to Bathurst from 14 to 2017.
Yeah, okay.
And then 2017 to 2022, it didn't run. We tried to run in 21. We were penciled in to run, and that was just as in November was when the COVID restriction was starting to ease. But then they still had the local area lockdowns in Sydney. So we thought we'd can that, and that's why we moved it to March. So, and then, March 2022, it started to flog down rain, and that was when they had all the floods up Central Coast.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of people enter. That was a big that was the first comeback for Bathurst long track since 2017 and after COVID, so everyone was keen to do something. And I think, both years have made capacity in 48 hours, which, talking to all the people, that run big blue ribbon events, you're still trying to drag people in at the last hour type thing. I think Bathurst and Corinda, held by the Tamworth Club, are events that people jump onto straight away, because it's, to my knowledge, they're the only two tracks in New South Wales that are still running on showgrounds at the moment. There's been nothing in Victoria, nothing in Queensland that I'm aware of. If I was aware, we would have gone and raced them.
Yeah, the last one in Victoria was Oyen, and was that 22? I think that was. Yeah, not 23.
No.
And I was speaking to them, and they were saying that they would like to run it again, because that was the first one. So they would like to run it again, but it's just a bit of organisation and that, I think. Being tied up with other stuff. And
I think, and that's another organisation and the geographical challenge of it. We get lots of riders from Townsville, Mackay, Central Queensland. We get lots of guys from South Australia, Victoria. It's very central. If you were to go from Townsville to Oyen, it's probably a 4,500 kilometre trip.
Yeah, it's pretty big trip. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're talking, if you're going in a towing something half decent, you're probably talking $1,500, $1,800 in fuel just to go racing.
Yeah, it was like me going to Brisbane for the AFT and back. Yeah, that hurt the wallet a bit.
Yeah.
But look, it was definitely worth it. But yeah, you have to sacrifice other things to do it. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like I would have loved to have gone up last weekend to North Brisbane Cup, but I've done it once already this year. That's once is enough during the year. And,
we were going to the North Brisbane Cup, but I was a bit slow on the entries and I missed it. I got one son that races junior 250 and one son that's just gone into senior.
Okay, yeah.
So I missed the junior entry, and it's a bit hard to tell one he can go and race and not the other.
Yeah, definitely. So that's another event that filled up pretty quick, isn't it? That one I think filled up within sort of 24 hours, if not more.
No, that's right. And I think that it's a good club up there, and well run club, and it's a prestigious event, and it works well because you get the, like Jack's back from GP at that time, Drainey's back here, Max was back, Brooksy was back from the FIM stuff that he was doing. You got to have those guys at your event, to
well, it definitely helps. Yeah, it really definitely helps. Aubrey is bringing their Skylift series back this year. 2024. We're not quite there yet. And that's a great event as well. And there's lots of them, isn't there? There's what else? The Casey Stoner Cup. Is that going to happen again, or is that finished? That one?
I think they run it this year, I believe. The Casey Stoner Cup. But
I think that filled out pretty quick. Yeah, lots of good ones.
The Woodstock would be good. They used to have They used to be the Woodstock Bourbon Cup, and it was sponsored by Woodstock Bourbon. And it was a big one. It's a good track out here. It'd be cool if that one was firing some big stuff again. We've got Forbes, which is a smaller kind of D-shaped track, but Woodstock is a proper long track. It's got a good dirt track there, but it's a proper long track.
And it's got good character, that track. There's not a lot of tracks with ascents and descents around the joint, and that I enjoyed my time there. I wanted to get a few more laps on it actually. I went there when I hadn't properly set my bike up, so I'd love to go back with it properly set up. And see what the difference is.
You can get some pretty big kind of braking bumps into it, so suspension plays a big factor there. And if your gearing's not right and your motor's not strong, it can be a heavy track. It can be relatively slick, but once it goes heavy, you got to have a motor to pull you.
When I was there, it was pretty brushed off. Actually, it was quite hard, and not heaps of surface. But Tom Jones was there that day, and he was killing it. The entry speed of those guys was insane. Yeah, really good to watch.
Was Tom on a 450?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I think it was
2022. I think he might have been just changing over to seniors.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
because I remember watching him out there, which I think was his first race meet there as a senior on a 450. You know, his corner entry speed was just off tap. It was wicked. Yeah.
Yeah, no, wicked indeed. And so 2024, the Bathurst is happening again. Any new changes? Any format things that being
Yeah, well,
changed already? Or?
I guess the 19s class is back, and
Yeah.
it's going to replace the unlimiteds. So
Okay.
so last year we had Pro 450 unlimiteds and 19s.
Yeah.
Right. This year it's unlimited will be unlimited 19 MX. You know, so you can have a old Berg 501 or something like that, put a set of 19s on it and go and race in that class.
Cool.
We're going to run the same format as you would have ran in Pro 450. So tape start, 14 bikes across the row. Not going to do multi grid. That was us trialing something. It was not probably well executed. It was a bit unorganised at the start because we didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't really have any help in that respect of how it should be done, and we were trying to make the 19s look a little bit different from Pro 450 or unlimiteds, so that people could actually notice when that class is on track. If they didn't have a real keen eye to what wheels were going on the bikes, you know, so that they kind of could understand maybe why they were a bit slower or the level of riding wasn't quite there, because we just didn't know what they were going to produce. You know, the 19s concept for Bathurst, you know, was probably unheard of from 2017 and the years gone past. Like, it was probably never really a thing to be done, because long track's long track, you know, it's a long track bike.
Yeah.
It's a long track, you know, it's always been that way. But for an event like that to go on, you have to have full grids, as many classes as you can, hence why we do the Friday practice, to get through practice early so we can get into racing early, because it's an expensive facility to hire, run, you know, the council, the permits, the lease, everything that goes on it. It's a very expensive, and being that we're not a privately promoted event, we're just a club run event, you kind of got to maximize what you're making, and you do that by bikes on grids, you know. So we were a little like unsure of what the 19s were going to produce, and it was 2020, I think 2022 when Tom went over to America and did that Lima event when he was on the KDM, and he won the Dash for Cash.
Yeah,
that was when we as a club went, Lima looks like our track. It's Deco, you know, they're getting around that track really well, you know. And Michelin's were getting hard to get, and $300 a tire, and you're flipping tires 3 times in a night, and it was silly, you know. So we were like, well, let's try to get this 19 thing happening around Bathurst. It was a good thing. We want to stick with it.
Cool.
It's a tough thing to try to. We get access to the showground the weekend before, so our lease effectively starts on the Thursday, but they let us have access to the facility. The showground's still actively used for training trotters, so there's over 40 horses still down there. Our lease, so a lot of people don't know, but there's 100 mil of blue metal dust on that surface. So that's it's 21 meters wide in the corners. Yeah. And it's 840 meters long, I think, on the pole line.
Yeah.
And we take all that blue metal dust off.
Right.
And we can't take that off. So we take it from the fence to 6 meters off the pole line, because we've got to leave that blue metal dust on there until Thursday for the trotters to keep training.
Oh, right.
So we can't take that off the week before and then farrow it and water it and roll it in, because we can't take the blue metal off it. So we can't get all the blue metal off till Thursday. Yeah. So, you know, we've copped a little bit of flack in the last 2 years for inconsistent track surfaces. Ideally, we'd have the track surface, the blue metal off the Friday the week before. We'd open the ground up. We'd dump a heap of water in and leave it open until probably Thursday evening, and then we'd roll it in tight, you know, get the moisture about 150 mil deep. But we just don't have that luxury. We kind of just have to deal with what we get, because we get about an 8-hour window of sunlight to get that 6 meters off and water in after the trotters finish at lunchtime on Thursday.
Man, that's a massive undertaking, and that's good insight. Like I'm sure that will change a lot of people's perception and thoughts about what's going on. And I actually didn't. I don't think I said on the pod that the track was bad.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
I
I
actually
think
thought the track was fine. Yeah.
in previous years, I asked the question to Glenn McDonald last night. We had our AGM last night for the club, so I asked Glenn McDonald was there because he's a life member, and he said it was 2016 was the first year. Pardon me, 2016 was the first year they had to take the blue metal dust off. So previous to that, the blue metal dust wasn't on there, and then the trotters wanted it because it was softer for their feet.
Okay.
Did you go to did you run at Corrindo?
No, I didn't. I did want to go there, but I didn't make that one. Yeah.
Well, it's still got the blue metal dust on it, but ours is a fair bit deeper than what theirs was. And yeah, we had to take it off. So to take that off, we had two Moxie, like articulated dump truck, and a big Hitachi loader, and then two graders going around. If you were to pay for it, if this was a privately promoted event and you had to come in and run and do this, and you weren't relying on volunteers and local earth moving companies, like there's probably 3 or 4 different earth moving companies that pull together to get it done, that are every other day of the week a competition to each other, but you would be probably paying $60,000 to $80,000 to pull that surface off and put it back on.
I was going to say, you wouldn't be doing it. You wouldn't.
No, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. And that's why when we've been asked in previous years, would we be interested in running it as a national title, unless we can run the 12 to 15 classes at the capacity that we run them at, it's not financially viable,
Well, I think the 19s there is fantastic. Obviously, I'm pro 19s. It surprises me when people think, they won't work on a granite track. They do, and a fairly deep one as well. Like they will actually hook up on a deep one as well. There is a point where they just start to sort of spin on top. But I mean, I've ran them in pretty deep tracks at Broadford with no problem. But it's just, I don't know, some riders really take them easily, other riders don't, and I can't explain why. It's just part of the thing, part of the mentality or something in that rider's head. I don't know, I can't figure it out. But I'm interested to know if you've got any stats on the times between the Pro 450s and the 19 class.
Well, on the couple of days after it, couple of days after the event, I went looking to have a look, and I think Jared and Seishan really come on the 19s in the finals of the last heat from memory. Yeah. I think he's like, it might not have been that good, but I think it was within like 3 100ths once. It was really close, like by the end of the night, and I don't really know where the track was at between the time period, So that the time they might have been on earlier when the track was heavier, and then the track went slick and might have worked better either. Who knows? What we're trying to do this year, just clear it up, is because the unlimiteds the 19 class is now the 19s unlimited for this year. The 19s class will be ran in the day program. So from the start of the day to, let's call it race 70 in the program. There's 100 and we have this year we're planning on 107 races. 19s might run up to race number 67, and I think we've got capacity for 80 19s bikes if we can get them right. And then we'll have like a 2-hour window where we'll start where the modern sliders and speedway sidecars. So we didn't have them last year, but we got them back on the program this year. But we're going to have it open to have 4 grids of modern sliders. They want more bikes. They think they can fill it. So they are a good thing to watch, whether you're whether an MX guy or not. At the end of the day, they both got their place at Bathurst. And if we can get them into that night program, that gives probably an hour and a half to change wheel sets and suspension over if need be, to get ready to then go out in Pro 450.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So but the unlimited will be a 19s only class, and Pro 450 will be a 21, 18, 21.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be a trials tyre rear class.
Yeah. So you can't. So I couldn't run my 19s in the Pro 450 class.
No, that's because we're trying to really not have them mixed up, so that people do identify and understand, and that's so that we can help the sport and the class grow. If we start combining the two just because it's easy to leave your wheel sets on, and you're like, oh, I'm not really a podium contender, I don't really care, I'm just here to have a bit of fun, then that's not how we want it, because we're trying to make a statement that's that class, that's how they run, that's their time window that they run in, swap over and go to this generic, because I do feel like 19s will be the thing of the future, and I think we're getting closer and closer with what Dave's doing with the AFTN and whatnot. But I think we've got to be making a conscious effort to have that dividing line on the night between the two classes.
Yeah, fair enough. I actually ran mine in the 450s just because I was pulling faster times on my 19s than I was on my other setup. So I just left them on. And there was a couple times where my window to get them changed over was a little bit short, and that was partly where I was pitted as well. I couldn't tell what was going on, so I started getting a bit of anxiety about whether I was going to miss my races. So it was easier just to leave them on. So if you change the format, so there's that nice big window, you shouldn't have any issues at all, should you?
No, that's right.
Theoretically,
we expected. In my opinion, you probably did have enough time to change wheel sets over. Like if you're proficient in changing wheel sets, then it shouldn't take you really longer than 8 to 10 minutes to change a front rear wheel set. But I agree, we anticipated this year that 50-60% of the riders would have a second bike, borrow a second bike. If they were diehard 19s guys, they would have just entered the 19s class and not entered the Pro 450 class. But it's Bathurst, and everyone wants to capitalise on it. And we have people, that enter 5 classes, and we're happy to take their money, and then they pull out a 2 on the day because they realise they're not fit enough or they're not fast enough, or and that's cool. They've taken them. We've got their money, and it goes. But it is upsetting when you got a waiting list of another 12 to 15 bikes, and somebody missed out. Because it is, if you know what Haddar's like to enter, it's a race to enter. Fink's a race to enter. Bathurst Long Track, we don't want it to be a race of the keyboard, So entries for this year open on the 5th of January.
Yeah, righto.
So last year we had them open before Christmas. That was a dumb idea because my phone didn't stop, leading up to Christmas. It just didn't stop with unhappy people or happy people, or where do I park, and can I come up a month earlier and bunt out an area? I'm coming through town. silly things. Can we have fires? And it's like, oh my God, it's Christmas Day and you get a text message about, are we allowed to have fires at the Bathurst Long Track? It's like, can't have another beer, champ.
Well, as you know, with business, people seem to think that every business is 24 hours these days.
I
think running events is the same thing, isn't it?
Well, I don't mind because I'm passionate about it, So that's why I try to watch all the different groups on Facebook to listen, Yes, quite often say I hope the organisers are reading this, and I'm a pretty opinionated person, but I have to fight and sit on my hands how many times when I want to comment on something, but I'll usually leave it for a few weeks to build a political comment or statement before I blurt one out.
I think I'm pretty mild, really. I try to be as fair as possible. Like with anything I said about the Bathurst event, it was meant 100% what do you call it? Can't think of the words. I've gone blank. Positive criticism, constructive criticism. Just because it is such a good event, and like with the live streaming, it's when I watched it. I noticed a couple of things that I sort of thought, well, if it was this little bit better, that would have made a big difference. But live streaming's bloody hard. Like, I'm not saying it's an easy thing, and we come and do it better. It's bloody hard. But
I'll give so the live stream we never thought about it leading up to the 22 event.
Yeah.
And it was only about a week out when a guy called Geordie Tarrant, who's Geordie's Jaws 211 MX. So, go and have a look at his YouTube channel and that, because, man, that guy, he rang me up out of the blue a week before, and he's like, are you interested in live streaming your event? And I'm like, oh, man, we have no data on whether this event's going to make money, whether it runs at a loss. We did things so tight the first year because we had nothing to go off. There's nobody in the committee or that we're running who runs or is involved in these last 2 years that were from previous years. And we didn't have any, treasurer's reports or things like that to go off, so we didn't know. And Geordie was like, I'm just a mad keen videographer, and he's like, I love it. Let me come and do it. I'm like, well, I was like, oh man, this is going to cost us a fortune, And he's like, I love the sport. Let me come and do it. It's Bathurst. So he come and done it. We chucked him upstairs in the old ABC video tower for calling the trots, and coincidentally, and we understand there was dramas both years with background noise and things like that. But I think some people just forget that it's not privately promoted event. It's a club ran event that was designed. I've had lots of comments from people over the time, it should be a senior only event. We need more seniors, less juniors. It's like, woo. This is a club run event, mate. Nobody's going to be cutting juniors. Nobody's going to be cutting seniors. It's just, we're going to run the event to please the locals, the community, the club, and having Geordie do the live stream to us was so important because we want bums on seats, and all the locals are going to come. They're not going to sit at home and sit on the internet and watch it from home when they can hear it. So they all turn up, and Bathurst really gets behind it, mate. It's a really good vibe. If you get walking around the back there, mate, everyone's semi-trailers are parked in there from Wednesday, bunted off. There's portaloos on the back of trucks. There's pigs on a spit all day. There's swag set up everywhere. It's a real party, and scaffolding set up on trucks, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And it's good to hear that Geordie put his hand up like that, and that's awesome because it helps the club out. And like we said on James's one, I had family overseas watching it, and I remember looking at the numbers. There was well over 1,000 people watching it, which was fantastic. And that's probably what prompted me to make those comments. But I also do understand that, the event got rain, all the program got shifted around. Everyone was sort of like, a little bit, we're just going to make this happen. The dude on the person that you had on the pit gate,
Anthony Pepperell, mate.
Did a fantastic job. Yeah, he did an absolute fantastic job. It's always stay composed and kept everyone in the right order and going out in the groups we're meant to be. And he had a few groups piled up at the wrong times, and he sorted it all out. He did a great job. Yeah.
Well, I met Pep a few years ago up at Tamworth, and I watched him run the pit gate up there, and I didn't know him for the first year until he come down and helped us, and I got talking to him before the event. He did the first year for us, and then we become mates after that. And I got chatting, and I'm like, nothing phases you, mate. And I said, what's the go? And I said, you've got it. You're military. And he's like, yeah, I'm military. I'm like, oh man, you were so regimented. Like a spade was a spade. If you're up, you're up. If you push it in, he just tell him to get out of the road. And he would listen to one person, and that was the clerk. And yeah, mate, Pep, he's a absolute champion. He did a great job, and he's confirmed he'll be there for this year again. So
it's pretty
cool.
Oh, that's a good purchase.
It is. Well, the other cool thing which Geordie told me the other day, which he's stoked about doing this year, is he's purchased a new high-end drone, and he wants to film. Yeah. He wants to film and track the race meet from the drone.
Yeah, cool.
So I don't know how that'll work and whatnot yet, but hopefully we tried to set him up in a EWP last year and have his own platform, but it was no good with the Wi-Fi. So hence why we went back into the building at the last minute. But I don't know. I'll try to get them to keep the door shut.
Oh, look, the commentating's important. It's like any event, and just like the organisation before and then during an event. It's just the communication. Just the little things were like not quite knowing what classes were out on track at that time, and that, like I said, for the people that weren't there, they probably didn't realise it had been rained and that sort of stuff. I can't remember them saying we've had rain, unless I missed that bit of the footage. But
No, that's right. Like I think
so
he
just
stopped
that little,
filming.
that little bit of information, and just being on the ball. And I do a bit of commentating myself, and it's bloody hard. Like
Yeah,
things get changed and you don't get told, and all that sort of stuff. And so communication is top priority, and it's totally understandable when things change
that's right. And talking
like
about
that
like
on the fly.
commentators,
Things
Pete,
get missed, but
Peter Baker. Peter Baker. I'm just looking at my stats here.
done a lot of commentating.
Has done 23 out of the 26 Panorama
right.
Club long tracks. So including Blaney. So he's done, and then he's had Glenn Russell and the former Alan Garvey. So I don't know if you know
right.
Boss Alan Garvey. He was an absolute diehard long track speedway guy. And Al and his boys, they come along each year, put their hand up, and they run the outgate. So it's kind of always known as kind of Foss's outgate. So it's always the old boys over on the gate. But Foss passed late last year. Yeah. So
Okay.
he didn't make it to this one, but he was a good guy. So all his mates will come along and help out.
Yeah. Well, we watched. What did we watch? And the commentating was awesome. It might have been. I'm pretty sure it was Peter commentating. Trying to think. I can't think which one it was now. He did a great job at the Aussies at Albury. But it wasn't Albury I'm thinking of. Yeah, I can't remember. But it was live streamed. I think it might have been Gunnedah, actually. New South Wales titles. Was Peter commentating
Oh, we
that one,
didn't.
do you know?
We didn't do Gunnedah. We haven't ventured on the oil track stuff yet.
Yeah,
we did Griffith. We did Griffith this year. That was a friggin' awesome. We did
the night race on.
that Twilight series on the. We didn't know what we went down there. My young fellow rode started on 19s and did the first two rounds on 19s, and he was the only one on 19s. And then we swapped over after that. But yeah, deco or loose oil, mate. That was bloody fantastic.
And then did he end up going back to the 19s? Because didn't the track harden up a bit?
It did harden up. He went. No, we stayed on the 2118, and then they had a shootout, and it was still a 2118 track for the shootout, and he come second in the shootout, and then ate it good in the final, and ended up with a trip in the ambulance and nearly a helicopter.
Oh no, is he all right now? Or
yeah, he's all right now. Yeah, he healed up. He's back. First race back was back at Trackmasters the other week.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the young guys, anyone under 40, even some of the older guys actually are pretty amazing how they just sort of brush it off and back into it.
Yeah. Well,
half healed.
he had one of those air suits on, one of those Alpine Star air suits.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I think that helped him, but I'm pretty well after that crash. I'm a big fan of it because he was a big one.
Yeah. So is that the full arms and everything?
Yeah. So it's not. Yeah. So his is the off-road one, which is elbows to waist. You don't need to wear a neck brace because it all pops up under the neck.
There. Yeah.
But his younger brother crashed the race before him, and his air suit went off and hit his head pretty good, and he was in the ambo, and then he was in with one ambo, and then the next race his older brother crashed, and they had to call in second ambo for him. And so two brothers went to the hospital at the same time, shared a room.
Oh, yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah, it's how it happens, isn't it? When me and my girls were racing, all four of us crashed in the weekend and all did our helmets. They got signed off by the ambos as not being fit for purpose anymore. And it's just like, we can't keep doing this. Like, someone's got to quit.
Got to get a helmet sponsor.
Yeah.
Dirt track. We race motocross as well, so the boys usually start with a helmet as a motocross helmet and then do a season in that and then do the next year racing dirt track with it.
Oh, okay.
So they don't destroy it. But yeah, so I don't know, mate. Like few interesting. I mean, Bathurst 66 volunteers on the day, and that doesn't include the key officials. You know, that's what it takes to get that done. You know, the
And where do they come from? Club members or outsiders? Or
club members, most of them, local families, family of members is a big one. You know, like trying to. Well, I think in the first year, in the second half of the night, there was 12 flag marshals on the track on the second half of the first night, and 8 of them were my family, and none of them were scheduled to be there, so they all jumped the fence and went and jumped on a flag marshal because we had issues trying to keep people there and whatnot. But you know, it's just a huge effort, the set up, the pack up, the clean up. You know, taking the blue metal off, putting up the boards. Like there's over 450 3mm plyboards around the place. You know, putting the air fence up. You know, the air fence is an art in itself to get that thing rolled up and packed up and set up.
And where's that come from?
So that's MA own it.
Oh,
MA own it. MA got a good deal on it. Bought it new, arrived here mid-2022. So we didn't have it for the first year, and hopefully that opens up the opportunity, because if you go through all the GCRs and whatnot for track, you've got to comply. So any new fairground or showground site that isn't a permanently registered track must comply to Speedway rules. Speedway rules is must have an air fence. You know? Or do a TRA, which is a targeted risk assessment. So you've got to get your track inspector to do a TRA to say he's happy to run an event without an air fence. And then the rules say you're not allowed to have any combustible materials. So no hay bales, no tyres, no rubber, so no foam. So you can't have a combustible material on the inside, you know. So the only way around it, it's very clear in the rules, but it says, you know, you can do a TRA, target risk assessment, to do it. Oh, well, then that puts the onus on the inspector, or the track inspector, right? You know, so then the track inspector's like, well, I don't really want to do that. So, but they went and make up rules, but then they didn't give us an option. So there's rules, and then there's no option. So the first year, we were nervous, you know. The second year we got the air fence, high the air fence of MA, and any club can do it, you know. And if any club's listening, you know, being out to us, and we're happy to share all our info and costing and, you know, all the run sheets of what to do and how to do it and where to go to get stuff done, because mate, the big events like Bathurst, man, we need it. There should be 3 or 4 other of these, you know. Gunnedah Showground, like I signed the petition and filled that out yesterday, because that was so close to going ahead there last year, and the Gunnedah council, you know, over stupid stuff, just, you know, put the kibosh on that, when, you know, it's so good for the town, you know. We get so much positive feedback, so much, you know. And, it's noisy, it's dusty, it's whatever, but, you know, this for such a small minority whinge about it for how much everyone just hypes on about Bathurst Long Track as a local, you know. That's why we don't have any problems getting sponsors, eh? Like local businesses, tradies, local businesses, you mentioned, you want to get on board the long track? Yeah. You know? Yeah. All they want out of it is, can I take my vehicle down there early? You know, everyone's just like, can I get my ute in and get a good spot before everybody else?
Yeah, that's awesome. You know? Yeah, and you know, it brings a shitload of money into the economy as well, I'm sure, with people travelling and booking accommodation and eating out and all that sort of stuff, buying petrol, when they're in town and that. So it's got to be a good thing, surely. And
it'd have to.
Yeah,
it'd have to bring over $1 million. It'd have to bring over $1 million to the town on the weekend. And you think to yourself, geez, $1 million, that's a lot of money. But I've seen financial reviews done on Warrnambool Speedway, done by Deakin University, for what the Sprint Car Classic brings into Warrnambool over the weekend. You know, it's like $12 million that brings into a town of a population of like 1,200 people.
Yeah,
you know, like that's what motorsport does. So you get these towns that aren't pro motorsport, and we're lucky because Bathurst Council and Bathurst community, anyone that's lived here their entire life, is pretty well pro motorsport.
Yeah. Well, you have one of the biggest motorsports event in the world, besides the Bathurst Long Track as well, obviously.
Well,
so,
they try to say that Bathurst is the mecca of motorsport, but I disagree until we get a speedway track, a permanent dirt track, a go-kart track, and a drag strip. I don't think you can claim it to be the mecca of motorsport.
Yeah, right. So you don't have a drag strip?
Don't have a drag strip. No, never any drag. Don't have a speedway bike track. Don't have a dirt track. Don't have no speedway car.
Yeah, I'm with you. Then you can't claim
Nah.
that title till you got all of those, and you'd need a V8 sprint boat track somewhere as well. I reckon.
100%. I think if Mildura would have to be the closest town that I can think of that ticks all the boxes. They've got
if they've got a drag strip, they've got they've got the dirt track, long track, motocross, speedway. Oh, they've got the river,
stadium cross. They got the Southern 500. I used to race down there at Easter, and it was awesome because they had the big car festival, which had cars, bikes, boats. They had the stadium motocross. They had the speedway. They had the drags, and they had the Southern 80. All on the same long weekend. But they were smart enough that the long weekend was a 5-day weekend. So they'd stage it 1, 2, 3. So you didn't miss out. You had the night of the drags. You had the night the day watching the boats. Then you go and watch the speedway. It was cool.
Yeah, that's similar to what the Burt Munro's like in Invercargill in New Zealand. So or the four. Well, it's changed a little bit now since I've been there, but you just get an overload of racing. That's awesome. Overload of racing, food, booze, and music.
Oh, mate, that's how every weekend should be. It sounds like heaven.
No, it should be like that for sure. So what were the things that stuck in your head that you wanted to comment about or correct us on?
We've
over it.
We've gone over it, mate. There was nothing. There was nothing sinister.
Oh, that's good.
I just like I'm a pretty big advocate for the sport. I love bikes. I love cars. I love watching the junior classes grow. And I'm a big fan of the 19 stuff. Like we as a family, my boys are going to do the ATN next year, and we didn't do it this year because my eldest son went senior halfway through the year. So he did the first half junior, and then he got a dispensation to go senior early. And once we did that, we would have, if we did the first round, it would have been as a junior, and then the next round would have been as a senior. And then we looked at Gunnedah, we hadn't ridden a wheel yet, so it was like, let's just wait till next year and do it properly.
Yeah, and I sort of think for those, obviously, lots of people have different opinions, but I sort of think, there's no need to rush when you're a new senior. Just take your time and enjoy the first year, and then come in guns blazing the second one is the way I do it.
No, you got to prove a point. You got to come out absolutely firing from day one.
Yeah, a lot of them you can say, just take it easy, just find your feet, and they don't. But the downside to that is you can, if they bite off more than they chew, and they upset people, and then get battles start and getting wiped out and end up in ambulances and that sort of shit. But
I don't think it's for everyone. But
I guess
we did it. It worked for us this year. But we did it. So it is what it is. But I think entries open 5th of January. It's going to be a big month in Bathurst because the weekend prior to the long track is the Bathurst 500, which was sprung on us.
Yeah.
So that's the first round of V8 supercars.
Yeah.
And then the week prior to that is the Bathurst 12-hour. So there's the 12-hour, the 500, then the Bathurst long track.
Right.
I don't anticipate there being issues with accommodation, but there won't be camping at the track like we did the first year. That was a nightmare. That was a nightmare.
And so that's why that stopped, is it?
Yeah, we copped a flogging from the council over that one. The story behind that, which I'll tell it because I copped a bit over it. What had happened was the Bathurst Showground, like most showgrounds, gets used by gets leased out to caravanners and whatnot,
Yeah.
And when I was down there and organising the lease and whatnot, they said, we're going to hire the whole facility. Yeah. And they said, are you going to do camping? I said, well, I'd love to, but we don't have the people to manage it. And they said, well, how about we'll manage the camping? We'll take the money, we'll organise the camping and allocate the spots.
Yeah.
And I said to them, okay, no worries. How many campers do you kind of take? And they said, it's like 30. We've got 30 sites, that's designated to caravans. I'm like, cool, no worries, that'll work. Well, on the Saturday morning when I rocked up, on the 22 event, I've come through the gate and there's freaking caravans everywhere. And I'm like, what the hell's happened here? Where have all these people come from? And I went and spoke to the girls in the office there, and they're like, look at this, is awesome. And I'm like, what's the go with all the caravans? And like, I know. She's like, everyone just kept ringing. So we just kept they were all for your event. So we just kept giving them all your, telling yes. And I said, but you said you only had caravan spots for 30 caravans. And she's like, yeah, and we've got over 140 here now. And I'm like, they're parked in our spectator car park. So our lease agreement means that we're not allowed to, if we exceed a certain amount, we have to put a construction fence about 1 kilometre long across the highway to fence off that park, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that people can't cross the road. So all our parking for this event is to be inside the showground. Because of what happened that first year, our parking didn't happen inside the showground, all right? So I get this phone call on Monday. What the hell happened, Wade? You had freaking 1,000 cars parked up the street on the hockey fields and on down the river and up the street and in the shopping centre car park. And, your lease agreement means you're meant to stay on the showground. So we lost our parking because it went all to caravans and campers. And because we didn't know they were coming because we weren't looking after it. There was no designation of areas. So people were rocking up and with a van and parking diagonally up against the fence and, taking up 15 spots and setting tents up so they had it was a full BNS setup, and then council, when I put the permit in for next year, said there's one condition, no on-site camping, or put that construction fence up, and that construction fence is $8,000 to put up. When we did the numbers, $8,000 to put the fence up. If you charged everyone $35-40 a night to camp, the maths wasn't there, wasn't going to pay for the fence. And the mess that was left after from the campers was there's race mess, and then there's freaking the campers mess. I don't want to be there picking up bloody.
Yeah. I actually, on that note, I've got to mention I don't know how it is for Bathurst after the spectators and that, but I was pretty upset for App, and I noticed there wasn't actually that many spectators there, and there was just a hell of a lot of rubbish on the ground, and that was just unnecessary. And the people listening, if you're spectating, just pick your fucking rubbish up, put it in the bin. For fuck's sake.
It's funny because
I couldn't believe it.
This is another stat for you, and it was only a stat because my young fella had the week off school last year to help me pack up after it, and he and I emptied 86 auto bins, right? So we emptied 86 auto bins, and we had 12 12 of the fork tine skip bins there. So that's what we filled with the rubbish. So we filled all the 86 auto bins because he was like, he did a social media post on it, and he said, because he comes second in the juniors there, and he's like, it's not all glamour because he's inside the bin. He's inside the bin trying to get the rubbish out of the auto bins, and I'm spewing. I got terrible gag reflex, mate. And if I smell something, I'm off. And here I am putting this 14-year-old kid in the bin to empty him out. Father of the year.
There's a really good sign in New South Wales that we keep passing saying, "Don't be a tosser." So when I was commentating the other weekend at the Undera Speedway, I was just keeps using that phrase, "Don't be a tosser, pick up your rubbish." I think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Whoever came up with that should have got knighthood or something.
No, that's right.
Because it's so unnecessary. And when you say heavily volunteer based, and the AFTN is only small at this stage with the support crew and everything too. it's just puts on an extra burden that they don't need, and we, like you said, we want more events growing, or we want these events growing, and we want them to be good and enjoyable for everyone, and that's the people involved behind the scenes too. They don't need a big headache.
No, and it has a flow-on effect, and like this year I made it clear that we're going to be contracting out someone to come on the Sunday and pick up and empty the bins and do that stuff, because the volunteers are great, and the volunteers all turn up, they put the fence up, they pull the fence down and that, but they've all got jobs, or no one wants to spend as a volunteer 4 days volunteering for a 1-day event. So if we have to pay a contracting company to come in and do what we've done for the last 2 years, that cost is got to be worn somewhere. Does that go on the entry fee? Does it go onto the spectators entry fee? Like all that type of stuff has that flow on effect.
So do you have ideas of what the entry fee is going to be for spectators, for the races that don't, for the spectators that listen that aren't racing? Do you have any idea what a spectator's
it'll
fee
be
is?
the same as last year, which I can't remember off the top of my head. I think like we tried to do things last year where a family pass is what's on your Medicare card. So a family of 7 is $50 rather than saying a family pass is 2 adults and 2 kids. And children under certain age were free, because there's a lot of kids in town that are allowed to go with their auntie or their uncle or whatnot. You listen to James Sordy's podcast. Why did Sordy get into it? Got into it because he went there and watched it as a kid, and Dad said, "Let's do this," and Sordy's gone on to win a national title purely because he went to that one event. The only reason that this event is back on and I'm looking after it is because the very first race meet we went to Woodstock with my boys, we drove back past the showground. I said, they race around there, and they're like, well, why don't they anymore? And then a good friend of mine, Matty Siskovic, who's on the vice president one, and he's VP number 2 in the club. And Matty is another big driver and one of the main helpers behind the long track. He's like, mate, I've never raced a sidecar around there, and he used to race solos. So he wanted to race a sidecar back at Bathurst, and my boys wanted to race Bathurst, and that's why the event's on. No other reason.
It's a good enough reason. Yeah.
And at 2017, when my kids went, they both fell asleep on the back of the truck and didn't really remember it. And 2021, we spoke about it, and 2022, we made it happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if you got room, so I'm guessing the club's got land, that's where the motocross track is. There not room there to put a track in? I know the legislation is pretty hard to work around to at the minute, but
our track is on the steep backside of Mount Panorama. So our motocross track and clubhouse is on the Philimy Park, on the backside of it, and that has hairs on it as well, because Mount Panorama used to only have kind of 2 to 3 race meets max a year, but our lease with the council locks us out of that facility when these events are on.
Okay. Yeah.
Next year, like this year, there was 6 events, and we get locked out depending on who the promoter is. Yeah. We get locked out 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after the event. Well, there's becoming more and more events, so our motocross series has had to start earlier and earlier. Motocross is a winter sport and shouldn't be starting until April, May. We're starting motocross in February, so we can get a couple of rounds in before we get locked out. So, and that's kind of a real pain, and we're trying to work around that. And we've also there's other users up there, like the Rifle Club, the Big Ball Rifle Club. They get, we can only hold so many events up there a year because they shoot, and we're in the fallout zone. So we've got to work around those guys, and the Cycle Club uses it. But we are in negotiation with other tracks and conversations with other tracks around Bathurst about whether or not we can come in and lease or work with or run a separate event. It was only 2 years ago I contacted Callum Speedway, which is near Lithgow, which is 40 minutes from us. They got a big grant. They got I think it was close to $1 million grant as a Speedway car club. Yeah. and they put a concrete slip form wall all the way around. And once they did that, it became somewhat more compliant because it used to have guardrail and tyres around it, and it was kind of not bike friendly at all. Now that they've done the concrete wall, and now that Motorcycling Australia have bought the air fence and it's available to lease, we're now entered into conversation to see if we can hold a couple of rounds down there or create a series. And it's a deco clay base mix, so it goes blue groove if you prep it that way, or it'll stay loose. So it would be a good track. It's not big. It's only 380 metres on the pole line. I think it's about 12 metres wide. Would suit flat track PT. So our club we've just started conversations again with those guys. We can strike up a deal, then hopefully we'll have a few more rounds next year. But I've been talking to all the 19s guys and the flat track guys, and I think we're all keen for some more of that style events.
Car tracks. Like Victoria's got a huge amount of car tracks, and we can't use them. It's so frustrating. Like the closest one to me is about 30 minutes away, 35. Well, actually, sorry, the closest one to me is 10 minutes away, but there's no way we'll get on there because they've got their heads up their asses or something. I don't know. They don't reply to emails. They won't talk to you. They mention the two wheels, and it's like their ugly twin cousin or something. But we've got another one that's a bank track, but Motorcycling Vic wouldn't pass it, and the walls they're actually dirt, so it's sort of like carved off dirt banks. And one side goes over to a creek, but you wouldn't come out of the track because it's banked like that. There's you wouldn't come. You might slide off, but you're not going to go far. And that, I think that was about 15, 18 metres wide. It was bloody huge. It's 410 pole.
Yeah, I think you got 12 metres of runoff area.
Yeah, I was really trying to get that across, but I think you just got to be persistent, keep trying things, keep poking, showing that we're not going to go away, and we'll eventually get it across the board down here. It's not quite. We don't quite have the rider population like you guys do up that way, and that doesn't help. But that's what we're trying to bridge that gap a little bit, and hopefully next year it's going to bridge it a bit more again, and the 19s will try and do a bit more down here as well, and just keep growing the whole thing like we talk about on this pod. And that's why the pod exists, so we can have people like yourself contact us and say, hey, we want to talk about it, and make put your stats out, put the information out for people to know that they've not to ring you before Christmas, let you enjoy your Christmas, and in January they can start annoying you.
I've got no service at my farm, and that's where we live now, so it's great.
Very
within
convenient.
10 kilometres of home, the phone stops ringing. But it's funny you say that a bit about Vic, because like I've raced all through Victoria with cars. I've raced at most of the big tracks down there, and I've always been amazed because New South Wales is affected by the Speedway Act, which came out like in the 50s, I think it was. Where Victoria and Queensland weren't affected by it, and the track standards that you have to up here in New South Wales are so much greater than you do down there. To be honest, I was shit scared every time I raced down in Victoria at some of those tracks, because you just didn't know if you're going to end up in the creek upside down that's flowing, strapped into a car. You just at least on the bike you're not strapped into it when you're in the creek.
Look, I can understand their point of view with the concrete walls and that sort of stuff, but there were all the motorcycling grants and that were going around, and no one from what I know anyway said, oh, why don't we get Motorcycling Victoria an air fence that they can lease out, like MA's.
Well, they do, because it's MA's air fence.
So it should be able to,
It's MA's air fence. So a track in Victoria, like in South Australia, like Oyen and places like that, rightfully they
could apply for it. Yeah.
I believe that if you read the track standards, it says these are the guidelines, and then any other imposed by a state authority, so, and there's a lot of stuff in those guidelines. You'll read those guidelines, and I know, for example, the spectator fence behind the wire fence, you know, the spectator fence.
Yeah.
Here in New South Wales is 4 metres, but the standard says 2. But the state authority is 4. So even though the rule book says 2, the actual rule is 4 because the state authority states that it must be 4 metre. Where other states you can get away with 2 metres.
Yeah. I don't know, it gets messy.
It does. It does, and that's the stuff that you're trying to get. You know, I don't know if you've ever met or know or heard of John Langfield.
No, I haven't. No.
John, I'm not sure how old John is. John would be close to 90.
Yeah.
He's our track inspector, and John Langfield is a multi-world and Australian long track champ. And this guy, for an old fella, mate, he's 100% got his wits about him, and he's hilarious and he's great to work with. But I got to admit, and it was funny because when I first got, and anyone that knows Langy knows what he's like, and I got to know him the last 3 years. But I thought, I kind of asked for Langy to be our track inspector, thinking he was Cowra, he was kind of local, he's an old fella, you know, I'll get away with a few things with this. No, a fucking chance, mate. He owned me, everything. He was so particular. And then I'm like ringing up other track inspectors and ringing up other clubs asking, and like, this guy's just like bashing me with a stick, you know, about this stuff. And here I was thinking it was going to be a walk in the park, and here I was thinking I'd be able to pull the wool over his eyes a bit. Nah, not a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, at the end of the day, that we don't want that to happen because insurance is getting harder and harder, as we know, and if one thing goes wrong and it turns into a big mess in a court of law or something, I'd be interested in what you think what would happen if we've got no MA or no controlling body. Do you think there's no reason we can't go to a track and run a black flag event and have an indemnity form like a ride park? As far as I know, if you get a legally written up indemnity form, if I went and hired that track that they wouldn't pass, I could run it. But if shit went to shit, will that indemnity form stand up? Like if we actually ended up, let's say, and let's hope it doesn't, but let's say that MA went under or something like that, and we had to start running it like that. Do you think it's a possibility? Any thoughts on that sort of thing?
I don't. I've got a lot of American friends that race in America, and that's pretty much how it's ran over there. Yeah. And I don't know if I like it. You know, we plan to go over to America racing, and their medical system and insurance system and hospital system is all a bit daunting. If you're going on a holiday, but you know, to go over there racing kind of worries me a little bit, you know. And I don't know, like I've had a few conversations with Peter Doyle, I think he's the CEO of MA, and you know, I used to have my own place insured with AMA, my own property, and we've got a couple of motocross tracks at my place and my father's place, and I used to have them insured with AMA, and because I felt, you know, it was a cheaper option that gave me a certificate of currency, and I thought I was covered. Found out later it was all bogus, you know. So even if something did happen, I was probably not covered anyway, you know. And that puts a foul taste in my mouth because I put trust in the system, you know, and I was pretty loose on who used to come out, and you know, fine, you know, this weekend it's a friend, and then next weekend it's a friend of a friend, you know, and you're kind of like, well, everyone's trustworthy until shit goes wrong, and then all of a sudden, and they're not, you know. And if you've got nothing to lose, you know, if you're a track owner or promoter and you've got nothing to lose, and there's nothing for them to take, you know. But unfortunately, it's the ones, they're not the ones that are most likely going to go and build a track and be a promoter. It's, you know, entrepreneurs and it's people with financial backing that generally they've got to that position because they're hardworking and smart people. Smart people don't make risky decisions like running without insurance. You know, so my answer to your question is no, I don't see Australia, because Australia's still caught up in like what the USA was 15 years ago, where it was that's I'll sue you mentality if I roll my ankle in your pothole in your and until we can lose that mentality and understand that everyone's responsibility is it's for themselves. I can't be held responsible for you making a dumb decision on a racetrack or forgetting to do your helmet up or wearing a helmet that is damaged. Well, that's what people are getting in trouble for.
Yeah.
No,
it is a tricky one. I do think about it a bit, and mainly because I'd like to use more of these tracks down here, and looking for the way around. But it's got to, like you said, it's got to be the right way around that. Where if I host an event or I become the promoter, that I'm protected too. Because a lot of the systems that I look at, and like the AMA, and even I'm going to say it, and I'll probably get shot down, but even MA to a point, there's always ways they can throw it back onto you, like your risk assessment and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, and
there's
that's
always a way it can come back onto you, and it's a bloody daunting thing. It's a really daunting thing, and I wonder if that system doesn't exist, and if you just did a more simpler, you sign this. I would say 9 out of 10 people wouldn't read an indemnity form that go to a ride park in the week.
No, they don't. They trust that somebody read it once upon a time that put it in front of them. But I don't.
Yeah.
I just saw the bloke in the line in front of me sign it. So let's get out of here and let's get riding. Because nothing's going to happen to me until it happens.
Yeah, and that's right. Yeah, and that's the unknown bit, I guess. There's been deaths at ride parks down here and that, and I'm not in the thick of it. I'm not in the real know of it, but I haven't heard that anyone tried to sue anyone. So yeah, I'm curious about if that system would work. If we will maybe see in the future some sort of black flag events, like I was just talking to Scotty Wilkins from North Island, New Zealand. His pod will be coming out soon, and they run a few of those sort of black flag events over there and private tracks, and not under Speedway New Zealand or anything, or Motorcycle New Zealand. And no, it's an interesting avenue, and I wonder if it can become a reality here, or if it will become a reality. And we get more tracks happening that way, or. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball.
No, I think MA is the way to go, and I think they do a pretty good job. I think they've got a fair bit of room to move and learn. I would like to see a few more people from the motorcycling industry take roles in MNSW, Motorcycling Queensland, Vic, MA. I think if I could give them some advice, it would be where they're targeting for their employment, not pulling people out of, that have come from managing a Telstra call centre or a Telstra shop, not bad at Telstra, but
no.
but you got
a relevant field. Yeah, comes from a relevant field. A racer that's been racing 10 years and never been involved on the paper side of things, but maybe pull him in because he's got a good track and insight and that sort of stuff.
Understands, so I think it's good. But back on, I'm looking at my screen at the moment, so a bit of information for classes or what. But you asked if there was going to be much change. The last 2 years we had 15 classes. This year we've got 12. So this year we're scratching Evo MX, Evo sliders, and Pro 252 stroke, and we're bringing back Speedway sidecars. Yeah. So we're giving them an opportunity again this year. And then obviously where last year we had the 19s and the unlimited, we're combining that 19s to unlimited. So last year we had 119 scheduled races, and the year before that we had 111 scheduled races. This year we're planning to have 107 scheduled races. You go back to, I'm just looking at my stat, 2001 there was 111 races. The next to that was 102 and 106. Otherwise they were back around the 80s for races on a day. But the last 2 years have been the only 2 years where we've had over 330 entries. And 330 entries, I think that's 280 riders. And the entries basically filled up within kind of 48 hours. You'd fill up, but then they'd pull out, and you'd drop a few here or pick a few back up. But we're trying to. Otherwise, having a women's class, a full grid of women's is awesome. That's cool. The 85 150 junior class and the junior 250 class, two grids of them. they probably put on some of the best racing, I think, around there, because they are so close in comparison with power, and they've got next to no power to do what they've got to do with it. So it's, their corner entry speed is wicked because they've got to use it all. The fast kids, they just you go back and look at track times this year and last year, the top 5 junior riders on lap time could have ran in the top 7 of the Pro 450 final.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's very similar in the AFTN as well. Those junior lights, they're way up there.
Oh, mate,
very
you look
fast.
at Sam Drain at Gunnedah.
Yeah.
My God, he was top, was he second quickest or something like that?
I didn't actually get all the stats on that, but just watching them, you can tell
he was
that.
Second,
yeah.
He was second quickest. He did the second quickest lap time, It's power to weight ratio. It's not rocket science, and the kids can ride. They train every day. They eat, sleep, and breathe it. They don't got to go to a job tomorrow, and they don't have to raise a family, or and they don't go to the pubs and party like all the middle-aged kind of people do. So kids are the future of the sport, and their racing's phenomenal. But hopefully the long track slider boys, hopefully they pull out a few more bikes. Be nice to see. We're given the opportunity to run 4 grid of them. They had 2 last year. They reckon they can do 4. We'll see.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I know there'll be people cringing when they listen to this and they go, the sliders, they always say they're going to come and then they never fucking turn up and all that sort of stuff. But hopefully they do. I hope they do for you. Yeah.
That's what we did, we did it with the Speedway sidecars. Like they were scheduled to turn up. They were coming the first year back. They didn't turn up. And it made us look silly because we had individual class sponsors that sponsor that class.
Yeah.
And then because they run the wrong direction, not the wrong direction, the opposite direction, every obstacle on that showground has to be protected from both sides.
Yeah.
So as a cost to the club, there was $1,500 worth of hay bales we bought just to protect the opposite side, of the obstacles that they didn't turn up. There was, you take this into consideration, that if they didn't turn up, didn't enter, but the class was there, or they pulled out and then wanted their money back, that was a full grid of solos, so 14 solos that we could have filled, at 100 and whatever the entry is, $130, $50, whatever it is, that you don't get. So, it's capping classes. Capping classes is a contentious conversation, and it has its place in the sport and it doesn't have its place. But capping classes is like, in my opinion, like RSVPing to a wedding. You need to plan for a wedding. You need to know how many people coming, right? If I don't know if I don't cap the classes and 700 people enter, but Australia runs so many different classes, right? Unlike America, juniors can get on a 450 at 14 years old.
Yeah.
They run 250 and 450, and they don't run different tyre sets, and, they run, you're on 19s and you're from 14, you got A and B grade, righto? So A grade doesn't turn up to a national event. They qualify the night before, they don't turn up. I think my opinion is that our population's too small, our land mass is too big, our distance between race meets, distance between racetracks is too far. Yeah. So you end up with people that have got 4 bikes in this class and 4 bikes in that class, but it's a 12-bike grid. So our thing is, unless you can fill a grid, unless you're a class that can fill that grid, we kind of can't afford to not put someone that can fill that grid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we know what our break even is. We don't hit that break even, we don't run next year.
Yeah.
It's hard to go back to the committee and say, hey, we lost money on this event, but we really love it and it's great fun. And hey, my kids race on it, we want to do it next year. Do you mind if we blow another 20 grand that we didn't have and go backwards? No, it doesn't last.
Yeah.
I'm on the committee, so you're kind of entrusted by the 300-500 club members to do the best for the club.
Yeah.
So, and the thing that gets you probably shot down the quickest is to go backwards financially.
Yeah.
Clubs, it's pretty hard to make money in clubs, so no one wants to be out there selling raffle tickets and selling firewood and raffling off motorbikes and sausage sizzles at Bunnings, let's not do that. Let's go and put on a show like Bathurst and let's make money. So
Yeah.
you've got to cap classes so that you know you're going to maximise them, get as many people there. Big days, late night. We wouldn't have ran behind schedule last year. We would have been done by 9:30. We were done at 11:30.
Yeah.
Mason was finished at 11:27, I think it was. But we had 3 hours of rain delay.
Yeah.
You know, had we not, and we had an hour and a half rain delay and an hour and a half to bring the track back.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows Bathurst, when you get a storm, that track's going to be next level once that sun goes down, the moisture comes back out of the track, that track turns into an absolute weapon. You know.
Yeah, it was a good track. I didn't mind it even after they scraped it off a bit. It was fine in my opinion.
Well, it's a track that you can water. It can be hard packed, and when it's watered, you'll go out there, you know, and you'll have the same grip, wet, dry, or not. You know, it was bloody hot this year, so it was hard to get the water in it in the day. But it is what it is. But I think 2024.
So I have heard the question a couple of times. Why is Bathurst? I mean, technically it's a 2-day event, but why is it really race day is a 1-day event? So, have you ever thought about having racing on both days, like shorter practice? I mean, with that volume of riders, how would you fit it in? Anyway, but
it's crossed my mind. I haven't really spoken to too many people about it, but it has crossed my mind to run race meets on the Friday, because the first year we charged entry the spectators for Friday, and that and it was meant to be, and the first year was meant to be free practice, like kind of from 3 o'clock till 7 o'clock, go out as many times as you wanted. Most people went out once, some people went out twice, and then everyone went, you know, more than 60% said we're not going out again. When that happened, we said, well, let's get off the track and let's bring the track in early. Let me get a bit more moisture into it and get the track Mickey Mouse for in the morning. And we copped a little bit of flack because we were done so early and we were charging spectators and they'd pre-purchased tickets. So we learned from that mistake. So the next year round, we didn't charge for Friday night, you know, come in and watch for free on the Friday night, because we thought the year before we would have been there for 4 or 5 hours. You know, and you know, we have thought about it, because you do have everything there, the same as race day. Like, you know, we've got the medics there and whatnot. You probably could start running some heats if you wanted to.
Yeah,
it's bloody hard because we rely on so many. You can't go earlier than 3 o'clock, right, with the spectators, because no one finishes work till a minimum of 3. So, you know, I know that I made the Friday practice not start till 3:30, because I had, what have I got? I've got 9 nieces and nephews, right? So 6 of them flag marshaled for me on Friday afternoon practice. They didn't finish schools till 20 past 3. So Friday practice started at 3:30, because I knew they were going to be there. They were a reliable source of flag marshals, you know. So trying to get people there earlier than 3 o'clock is hard, when you're going to expect them to be there all day Saturday. So you kind of, you know, we dangle the carrot with the, hey, free entry, come and flag for practice and round 1, which is a 3.5 hour stint. You know, a round there is 2.5 hours. You know, to get through one round. We can compress it, but the only way we're going to compress it is to drop classes, where I get people complaining that the event goes too long, and I get people complaining that they didn't get a ride. Why don't you cater for this class? It's like, well, you know, on that group chat over there, you're whinging that the event went till 11:30, but we had a 3-hour rain delay. You know,
there's that.
Yeah, that was the other thing. You asked me what you said 18-hour event. It wasn't a bloody 18-hour event.
It was for us.
And just because you stayed at Wallerawang, which is an hour away, because you didn't
20 minutes it was to drive. It wasn't bad.
You weren't at Wallerawang, but
you
said 18 hours. I'm like, oh bullshit, 18 hours.
That's including, we got there early and we stayed and packed up our pits, and that's including everything, not just the riding. But it was up there. It was fucking long days for us. But probably not for the spectators and the organisers. Although you would think it's a bigger day for the organisers. You'd be there from the crack of dawn to until everyone's gone. So for sure,
you don't sleep for a few days. But you kind of get to that point when you have that rain delay and issues, because slider riders like to come in a night program. They want to turn up at midday, get scrutineed at midday, and come on in the night program. But then the year before, like 2022, we had them come in late. But then we got the race cancelled, so they weren't happy that they didn't get prize money or didn't get paid out because they only got one round of racing in, right? So then the next year, like, well, just so we don't risk that, let's put them through the day program so everyone gets a ride. Because that time of year, the long range forecast, if it's going to rain in the morning, the long range forecast, you've got enough time to call it off. The afternoon thunderstorms is so hit and miss. So the forecast is really hit and miss. So you kind of, if you want to give everybody a ride, you got to do that. But then if you have guys that are only riding Pro 450, for example, that's all they've traveled all the way down from Townsville and they come for Pro 450 and it rains at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and their race first heat was going to be 4 o'clock, they don't get a ride. Well, they're not entitled to tow money, prize money, no tow money with our event, but prize money, etc. And you kind of feel bad for them. So you kind of want to get, going early. I like to throw everybody into the day program. The spectators probably like to watch Pro 450 sliders and speedway sidecars and probably unlimited two-stroke. I don't think you can beat the smell of a castor oil methanol 500. But that's what the spectators kind of want. So we got to listen to those guys as well.
Yeah, it's a bloody balancing act, that's for sure. Do you run under speedway rules, or what's it actually run under? Dirt track, is it?
It's run under Lyndall Butler's rules, the race secretary. I don't know. That's another shout out. Lyndall, I don't know if you know Lyndall, mate, but honestly, hand on my heart, I wouldn't do it without her. Like, she's just a friggin' legend. She's from Queensland and she does all the blue ribbon races and she knows her stuff inside out. She takes no shit from anybody and, she's just so black and white with it. And from a race secretary and all the stuff that she does as a race sec leading up to the event and on the day of the event, it's faultless. And honestly, like the first year we totally had no idea and just kind of winged it. It was pretty stressful and I made sure that I documented everything I did the first year. And then I started building spreadsheets with everything on it so that, I don't know how many years I want to do this for, but I've kind of created a tool now that I can give to somebody else.
And say, this is,
that permit has to be in 3 months before the event. This permit has to be, you have to tell this person, this person, this person before you tell Sport and Rec. Don't ask Sport and Rec unless you've done these 6 things. Don't tell MNSW, don't give MNSW. Make sure you give MNSW your sup regs now. Make sure the date's put in now so it can be approved for next year and put in the open calendar. The lease, make sure the council, the police, the fire brigade, the ambulance, the hospital is notified. All those topics 3 months in advance. Traffic management plan has to be in 3 months so it can be approved at their quarterly council meeting. All this type of crap that if you didn't know it, you would be in spot of bother. But Lyndall Butler, mate, absolute gem. Couldn't do it without her.
Yeah, awesome. No, you see her name popping up all the time on the social media and stuff. Yeah, so she's definitely in the thick of it. I was asking about the speedway stuff because it's pretty common that they don't practice at speedway. So I was going to say, what about the sliders Friday night, just straight into racing?
It is. I don't know, like long track, dirt track. I don't know what, to be honest.
Yeah. Because I
just see the sup regs as per GCR or moms, and Lyndall, Keith, Dave, Denise, they run that part, We're just a club, we're just the host, and that's like I as a club we've copped a little bit of a flogging. People have got to remember we're just the host club. We bring in the experts. None of us in our club are above level ones. We're all just level one, so we can't host. It's an open event, so we bring in. I think we're level 3s and above. And we bring in the experts to do it. And someone will make a complaint to me, and I just shrug my shoulders and I call Lyndall and say, "Is this right?" And she says, "No, do not let that person do that." And it's like, "Sorry, champ, pack it up. You're going home." That's kind of how it is, And I don't know, like it's as per the GCRs and as per the moms. It gets a bit difficult, and it's not a national meet, so you get the hooligans for the first year. They come, they run, they had fun. The second year leading up, I get phone calls saying a lot of those bikes didn't comply, to the hooligans rules. I'm like, I didn't even know what a freaking hooligan was. until last year. So, oh, you're talking to the wrong person. But aren't you the organizer? I said, well, yeah, I am. But, I'm like, who in your hooligan group, is duly authorised to tell that person that he can't run that wheel or brake or that chassis or whatever, Well, we don't really have anybody. I'm like, well, who knows hooligans that wants to be here as a scrutineer? Or shit, not me. I'm racing, Well, I can't help you.
The funny thing about that, people that do that is everyone works or has worked at some stage for a business or in a business or they run a business. So they should understand that there's not one person that can be across everything. It's impossible. No. You can't be across. It takes a big crew of people to make awesome things happen. Sometimes small crews, but usually it takes many hands, to make light work, as they say. I actually did notice that on the day when we were up there that the twins had I don't call them hooligans, I call them twins, but they all had different tyres and stuff, and I was under the impression that they were meant to have no front brake and American tyres too, but I can't remember where I got that from.
I don't know. I know in America they have hooligans, right? And then they have twins, and hooligans, weren't a big thing, but are now a big thing in America. And they, they kind of follow the amateur series, and they're now on the draw card as kind of a support to the main event. I guess I don't know, here whether they're meant to run 19s. Like half of them around here run a. It looks like a MX-33 knobby on the front as a steer. I imagine how heavy that thing would be, the vibration coming through the front wheel.
Well, I've got to say, our Kelpie block works awesome as a front tyre. They actually work really good. I know Kenny Angel uses an 18 Mitchie on the back of his, and look, as long as you guys were happy with it and it all was through the right way, and I couldn't give a shit. But I mean,
I don't know.
It's still good to see them go around there. The tyre things, it's a funny issue because, like you said, with those times when you've got good riders on them, sometimes it's that close anyway. So
I think it's hard. Bathurst is Bathurst, and to us, we want it to be fun. We want people to come and have fun. The year that it's a national title, we'll make sure everyone knows about the national title before you get here. But if we could turn it into a motorcycle festival, this turned into a 3-day event, and we had 2 days of racing, and there was, the whole pit party stuff and camping, and man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
that's what we've got to build back up towards.
So Owen, I get what you're saying, and it being able to keep it sort of lighthearted is a great thing as well. Like, because that's what racing is. It's meant to be fun, and meant to go there, have a good time, not a scrap over what tyre he's using and whatnot. I mean, if you can't beat him, figure out a way to beat him, but Owen had they had the racing, and then they had a live band. Everyone had a party. It was fantastic atmosphere. That all happened in the one day. But those 3-day events. I mean, be careful what you wish for, I guess.
Well, but you talk about
you're already doing 2.5. What would you say? 4 days, really.
You are,
because planning and everything.
I don't know if Owen, and I don't think Corindai did. I don't think they run under light, right? So
right.
When I think if you're on a day meet, you kind of have to run 2 days because you've got to run out daylight, right? And predominantly speaking, a lot of these events are held in non-daylight savings time because it's a winter sport. So you run 2 days. You might have 106 races, but you're going to do it in two days where daylight savings, then we can run under light. So you kind of give the people the opportunity to travel home on the Sunday, and you would do, if we were to do an event, I think I would do a pre-event, not a post-event party type thing. So that, there's people can come on the Friday and whatnot. We've had spectators complain a little bit that we don't put on a great show. It's all about the racing, and we're like, duh, we're not a side
exactly
show.
what it's all about.
Where's the freestyle motocross? Go to Krusty's if you want to watch freestyle motocross. This is Bathurst long track, and we're here to race. I think at the moment, whatever, it's not a title meet, state. It's been a national meetings before, and those programs only had 6 classes, and 70 races. Let's not do that. Let's keep it, big and fruitful and have as many people and as many classes. And, we run, it's a big day, but, everyone can kind of suck up one big day every now and then. And
of course.
get it done. And I don't want to do this. You couldn't do this twice a year. If you did Bathurst twice a year, every year, it would lose its prestige.
Yeah, it would lose its prestige, and you don't need to, because you need to leave room for other events as well. And like we were talking about before, with the AFTN, Dave's, he's being careful and considerate how he's doing it as well. He doesn't want to overload the calendar. The calendar this year actually at points was manic. Like I'm going, fuck, I want to be in 3 places at once, and it's not possible.
How am I going to do that? Yeah.
So that is something that we have to, as a community, have to be very cautious of, because you can kill it as quickly as you can grow it, probably quicker. So as far as that guy saying about crusties, go to motocross, you tosser, but there's enough classes in there, isn't there? That and like variety of classes with your 19s, and like you're saying, you're going to make that more obvious by not letting people blend, and that. So that's a good thing. Your side chairs, your solos, there's enough variety there. Do you have quads? You don't have quads, do you?
We've had quads for 2 years contact us, and it was the same kind of argument I had with the quad guys. I'd never seen quads racing until I watched them at Quirindi.
Yeah.
And I'm not the boss. I hear things, I take it back to our committee, and I bring it up and let everyone make a decision on it.
Yeah.
But the conversation I had with the quad guys was, how did you guys get a national title this year? We couldn't field a national title. There you go. When you guys can field a national title and you turn up your own national title, come and talk to us. Put a show on for us and let us see. And I said, I don't know where the other was. Forbes, they didn't make a national title.
Is that track? Is that a track title? Because dirt track did, didn't they? Yeah.
Well, Forbes track title, the one that you were at, they didn't have quads they were meant to, and they didn't have.
Yeah. Right.
And then was it Quirindi as well? They didn't. I don't think they formed I can't remember if they had quads at Quirindi. But I remember talking to one of the main guys from the quads that was keen, and I'm like, there was 3 big events that you guys should have been at that you were in the sup regs for. You didn't fill it, you want to race Bathurst. And I had the same conversation with the long track guys, because they are like, Bathurst is the only track in Australia that we, it's what it's designed for. It's our right to ride there. Well, there's 51 other weekends of the year. Knock your socks off. Come and organise it. Yeah. But when I'm at Track Masters and there's 2, 3, and the Wodonga down at the titles down there the other month, there was 2. And I think packed up on day 1, and
because he got told he couldn't run the vets or something. I don't know. There was politics in there, and yeah.
but like back up at Barley Ranch for the senior track titles this year, there was no long track class. I'm like, show us that you're supporting your own discipline. Discipline. And that's kind of, I think there's got to be a bit of self-respect with that stuff, that you've got to, we go to racetracks we don't like, but we do it because we have to. You can't have 10 favourites, but you still go to them.
Yeah, the dirt motocross bikes. I was going to call them dirt bikes. Motocross bikes. They're just so easy. That's they are a lot easier to maintain and look after and that than the long tracks. There wasn't a resurgence of long trackers down here for a bit, and it started off again, that Harley Club, they made a class for them and they came, and then that whole mixing racing between bikes became an issue, and then all of a sudden they all disappeared again. I haven't seen them since, and Jody Mason's still the one that's, he's racing for years, and he turned up to Albury there and got told he couldn't, so there was some problem there, some miscommunication or something, and it's a shame, because it is a big part of the history of the sport in Australia and New Zealand and England, and especially Australia and New Zealand, as far as then going to chook chases. But
they bloody hate it, don't they? But I don't know, because we I made the statement the other week, right? okay. And I went to my young fellow who's 16 and said, you want to ride a slider at Bathurst? He's like, yeah, I do. Let's do it. So I went to a couple of the prominent long track guys in the country, said, I want to buy 2 brand new bikes ready to go for Bathurst. Well, you're not going to be able to do that. That was a response. I'm like, oh, everyone's telling me, yeah, they're available. They're here, they're there, they're there. I said, well, I want 2 brand new bikes and then I want them here and I want to do it for Bath. Well, you can't. You got to buy a bike from a frame from here and an engine from here and a wheel set from here. And, and it's like, you're just proving my point. I can literally go into the KTM dealership here in town and buy 2 bikes this afternoon and have the suspension set up tomorrow and we're racing and we're half a second a lap slower. I don't know. I think 2016, I've got a feeling 2016, don't quote me on it, but if Brooksy listens to it, I've got a feeling that the 2016 Bathurst long track, the fastest lap around there was done by Jared.
Yeah, right, okay.
Comparing to a long track.
Out of all the classes.
Out of all. That I could be wrong, but from what I see, when I've looked at lap time, they're within half a second.
Yeah. And the motocross bikes, they're a lot more accessible, a lot easier. Every shop works on them pretty much, and it's sort of a shame because I actually had some real speedway fanatic friends. I was at one of their houses yesterday, I think it was yesterday morning actually, and he was showing me all his old stuff, and he raced in the 70s and stuff, and I love it, and I grew up watching speedway, and then I don't want to see the long trackers die at all, but they, like you're saying, they got to turn up. They got to turn up in numbers, not just 2 or 3 of them. They got to turn up consistently.
And finish, start and finish, maintenance, and the bikes have got to be reliable, and they got to finish. Like, I love long trackers, I really do. I love speedway bikes. I wish we would be racing speedway if I didn't have to do the kilometres that we have to do to race speedway to be competitive. But we can go within 3 hours any direction, and find a competitive day dirt track. We've got to go 10 hours, 12 hours to go and find a competitive club day for speedway. And at the moment, you get, I don't know, 10, 15 riders. Like, we want to go to race meets where there's 80. We want a class full of 80 people. And I think, like, you get a 450 and head, cams, whatever, 20 hours, go and freshen it, piston in it, and you got a fast bike, all we got to do is just fix the tyre thing, because this $300 a tyre for an X11, is just ridiculous. Like, I'd like to see, 19s, if class goes and fires, I'd love to see a 2-make tyre rule and a set a weekend, and probably, the no big break stuff. If we're going to run oil track, you've got to make it, and even start from scratch and put stock pipes, must be OEM pipes on the bike. We just open up the can once we start big pipes, big brakes, multiple wheel sets, multiple fitted up tyres, because we don't want to change them on the race day because the turnover's so quick. And, I've got a set of tyres with Midases, and I've got a set with Hoosies, and I've got a set with Dunlops, and I've got all of a sudden, because they're all different for different surfaces, where if we just had a one kind of make, tyre rule, I reckon that'd make.
Yeah, you're right. Everyone should be racing on Kelpies, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, you just got to get them homologated. It's just like fuel. You go and pay the homologation cost, and you can have it.
It is an interesting thing. I don't have any answers there. I don't want to see 2118 disappear, because there is a place for it here. I think that or 2119 actually, in that case even more so. The easiest way to get into our sport is to just whack a Kelpie block or a V-rubber on your back of your 19 motocross, stiffen your suspension up, and go and have fun. That's the easiest way to get into it. And we can't, that's... I just did a podcast yesterday with Eric Hartley, the co-host from Tank Slapping Pod in America, Corey Tector's co-host. And we talked about it a bit too. I asked them a few questions, because they do have a pro rank and an amateur rank, and sort of, ask which one you prefer to ride at, and does the pro side of things ruin any elements for you and that sort of stuff? And being around that, does he see that being, and they feed each other is pretty much the answer. And I sort of think that's sort of where we need to get to here. A lot of people say it can never happen, but I don't believe that. We already have the talent. The talent's there. And he even said, because he's been watching us a bit, and even said, like watching the kids when the pros come, like Tom and Max when they come home, and you've got world famous road races coming home, and the kids just look up to them, and it's great to have. If you didn't have that pro element, they're always going to look up to faster guys. But I think just having that pro title and that, and it gives them something to aim for as well. There's a lot to it. It's not just a simple black and white situation, is it? But
I've got 5 kids, and they all race and they all ride and they all aspire to be the best they can be. And, they're all super competitive. And you look at, the weekend, going up at Brizzy, I think that I reckon there's 25 plus riders in Australia that if we were on 19s here could rock up within the first kind of month of racing over there and be running inside the top 10, 15.
Oh, I'm pretty sure too. Yeah.
I think one thing that, and I'm so grateful for it, is, but I think the 21-18, 21-19 here has taught the Aussie riders how to be mongrels, and it's a dogfight because it's a 4-lap race. It's not an endurance race. The elbows up aggression that comes from the motocross bikes with that 21-18 and how hooked up they are, like it really promotes aggressive non-strategy racing. Like it happens so quick here in Australia that there's no time for strategy. It's wide open, and we're going to hang on for 4 laps, and then all of a sudden we're going to blink. Where I reckon that just breeds speed, and I reckon, I'd love to see what we can do here in the country with a bit of what the cars I used to race for American, and we always follow the American rules. When you do that, parts become cheaper, tyres became cheaper, technology, they were always 3 years in front of us with technology. The doors opened. I raced cars that were not followed, were Australian made, designed cars that were crap because they didn't follow somebody that raced every weekend over there. But then you go and race a sprint car, or a speed car, or a late model, or a modified. It's American technology. It's proven, and it's cheaper because it's made in the masses, because it's made for them and us. Where things are dear here because the market's so small. So they're manufacturing for a smaller market. So the manufacturing costs are large.
Well, too, with the Michelin, it's not made for our sport.
Nah.
So, you can argue it all you want, but it's. I've heard some inside stuff, which I'm not going to mention here, but no one will ever say, yes, we make it for dirt tracks, and
not speed rated.
And we're just, we're not going to go into all that shit, but anyway, it's just not, and but it is the history of our sport. But there was 19s in that history as well, as Kazo talked about on the pod I did with him. That there was a time they raced on a different type of 19. It was a 19. I can't remember the brand now. I don't think it was Arrow, but something similar. And then they stopped producing it, and on the granite tracks, they would switch to 21-18 or 21-19. I think he said he raced the V-rubber until they changed their formula, so it comes and goes, and it's moved around and that sort of thing. But I mean, as I always bang on about, everyone else is racing 19s around the world.
Yeah.
Our sport will be huge, and all those factors you just said, creating opportunity for our Aussie riders will happen when we join that party. It's just... To me, it's a no-brainer. Like whether we keep 21-18 or not, I think 19s are a must in some way. I like the way that it's happened now, and that we've got the AFTN and dirt tracks carrying on being dirt track, and everyone's loving it. And we're actually seeing new people coming into it. I've got my sail on at the moment, and the wheels are going out the door, which is good.
Yeah.
Because people wanted to try it. We've made it a little bit cheaper again for them. And yeah, they're going, I'm going to do the AFTN. So, Dave, if you're listening, you've got a hell of a headache coming because I know I'm
Stole the
at
heap of
least,
wheel sets.
well, not just me, it's not just what I've been selling, but just talking to people too. Oh, yeah, I want to
Yeah.
race. So, at least 20 people from down this way have gone, oh, yeah, we want to do it, you know. So,
Yeah, well, we're two more. We're
it's
going to
just
add
a
to it.
matter of
But
time. Yeah.
I think unless we do something about it, Aussies go to America to race, but I think Americans come to Australia to race is just as enticing to an American.
It's already
Like,
talked about. There's people talking about it.
but I wouldn't want to go to another country and race on something I'm not familiar with. Like, why? So if you want to encourage people over here to race, like unlike the speedway bikes are speedway bikes. Long track bikes are
Yeah.
long track bikes. Doesn't matter. So they can bring their own stuff over. They can bring their own wheel sets here. They know what they're riding. They can come.
Yeah.
They can turn up to Bathurst long track, jump on a slider, and it's just like running back at home. You turn back up here, and you get Corey Texas to come over and, hey buddy, we're going to practice on Friday night on a 21.18, and by the way, you only got 7 psi in that back tire. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the race is only 3 laps.
Yeah. Four laps. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we get a bit of parity there, and you'll have people coming over, and then all of a sudden you've got a professional series that's intercontinental, and it can make it. Bikes are a damn sight easier than cars because you look at what the Drains did. Took their motor over in an esky and suspension in a suspension case, and heck, if you're half decent at what you do, any dealership over in America that's got a big name that kind of you talk to well enough is going to hook you up with a good frame and for you to get over there. You take your motor, you take your suspension. I wouldn't want to go to America without taking my own motor and suspension. Just how we are.
That's what I love about America. I've never been there, and I'm itching to get over. But just they do everything so big. It's not. Oh, we might. It's we're doing it, and we're going to throw fucking everything at it.
Yeah, that's right.
And they do. They just make it the big and the best they can, and yeah, I think that's pretty cool how they do that. I mean, there's you name it, bloody professional pigeon shooting. There's freaking everything.
Yeah.
There's a professional and an amateur side to it. I think it's fantastic. If you want to be a pro at Tiddlywinks, you can be. So.
Well, that's it. The other thing I don't know if I've got. So like we've got our prize money down for this year, and and I'm trying to find a bit more about where is it? Talk about prize money. Pro 450,000 to win, 700 second, 550 third. Same with the sliders. 1,700, 550, 19s, 800, 500, 350.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know. That seems to be.
It's good prize money.
And I think it is. I think it is. I think that's kind of numbers that are enticing enough, and we're a club that we adjust that as the sponsors come on. Like that they were the numbers we had last year, and for the 19s and Matt Drain who. Tom wasn't even here last year. Matt rang up and he said, I want to put an extra $1,000 on the 19s class because I want to see people enter it, and like,
yeah, sweet.
And that's where the extra money for the 19s come from, and how cool is that you get people that go, I want my money on that class,
Yeah.
So
No, they're very passionate about it, obviously, and you've talked to Matt a bit, and yeah, they're a nice family. They're giving lots of people opportunities that from what I can tell, they're selective. It's people that actually, that want to put in and that want to be there. So yeah, but they seem to help out a lot of people, and yeah, that pays it forward, so to speak. And
yeah,
and I mean, you look at what he's doing with those boys. They're having an awesome youth and racing, and I don't get any sense that anything's forced. It's all they want to do it, and they're doing it, and that's pretty much life, isn't it? If you want to achieve something, you just do it, and
yeah.
No one knows what the outcome's going to be until you do it. I mean, I don't care who you are. You don't know until you try something if it's going to work or if it's not. It's just the law of the universe.
There's hundreds of sporting success stories of Yvonne Googleagong coming from a backyard town and Don Bradman hitting a golf ball against the tank for all that type of stuff. mate,
Yeah.
Australia produces some wicked athletes, and we've just got to kind of keep fostering it. The sport has, I think, flourished a little bit in general, but I don't want to see just because COVID come and went and it flourished because everyone, we've got to keep it growing. More races.
Yeah, and I think it will. I think, we sort of spoke about it, Eric and I. I think dirt track definitely, or flat track and dirt track is definitely growing. In the last 10 years, it definitely has grown. And I've talked to a few people that have been around the sport longer than me, and they say, "Oh, it comes in waves. It goes up and it goes down." But I think this has been a little bit more consistent, even though times seem a bit harder. People are still turning up to race and wanting to race and wanting to do more racing. And, as I always say, I want to see the industry giving back and actually showing the love back to our competitors and families, and showing that can be a big family and we can all support each other and keep it moving and keep it living and have great stories to tell our grandkids. And hopefully I'll be watching my grandkids one day.
Hopefully, and one thing I see, which I think I'm very disappointed in, but there's no manufacturer support in Australia for dirt track or flat track, but there is for motocross, supercross, hard enduro, off roads. And I don't understand why, because we do a lot of motocross. And you still get every club day, you get 80 to 120 motocross riders to club days and national events. You get nowhere near the riders we get to open track and flat track events. They don't get the Pro MX and that don't get over 100 Pro 450 riders.
Yeah.
And why aren't the manufacturers seeing that? Is it because they're seeing that that's a demographic that's already they're marketed, so they don't? If that's what they're thinking, then they need to tell us that, because to me, I feel left out and disappointed that you're not seeing big cool Pantex and trucks and the whole swag that goes with the factory supported riders, because man, we got the best in the world. Like, we seriously do.
Oh, yeah, we do. Got some bloody talented young riders there. Well,
And
old
they
riders
just
too, but
and they just don't get the recognition, and like you talk about cost and whatnot. I'd love to see parity, but I still want to see manufacturer support. Manufacturers being there. I don't want to see manufacturers turning up with factory engines that are got an engine for this track, an engine for that track, an engine for this here in Australia. But I'd like to see them turn up, because it's a bit more of an influx of cash into the sport and a bit more opportunity for riders to aspire to achieving something in the sport.
also, our riders are professional level. There's no doubt about it. And even right to our weakest riders, they're still a high quality rider. They're just not as fast as the ones at the front, but they're still fast in our sport. And I think it's sad that those riders are missing out on experiencing what it's like having a factory backing, or, because it just makes you, I imagine, I don't have one, but this is what we sort of, and we're on a very small scale, but this is sort of what we try to help our riders just feel like that they're appreciated for the effort that they're putting in, and that they are important to the sport and that they are good at the sport. Like, where's the recognition for the hard work that these kids put into their racing? And I think it's a shame, and I think that's what the factories can bring. The motor side in that year, it's probably going to upset people if factories can build someone a motor that no one else can have. But I guess around a rules package, let's say we're talking about 19s and a F10, maybe there could be a rule package put in there to stop that happening, like the Indian in America. But those kids missing out on feeling special, I think it's a damn shame. Lawrence's and all that going over there. And look, don't get us wrong, I know they work bloody hard and they're awesome talent as well. But if dirt track and flat track just seems to be always at the bottom of the barrel, I don't really get it either. Maybe some people think it's boring to watch. I don't know what it is. I really don't.
I don't know. Well, I'm like you, but anyway, I could talk for hours about that.
Yeah, well, we actually have been talking for hours, and it's been fantastic, unexpected. Actually, I didn't know how it was going to go. I've never met you. Like I said, you buzzed me on the phone, and I encourage other people to do that too. It makes my day a lot easier. if I'm not chasing other people around to come on the pod. It's awesome. You might have noticed Tom Northey's been missing for a bit on some of the pods. I don't actually know what he's doing. He said he was moving house or something. He hasn't got internet sorted, which I'm finding that hard to believe in this day and age. But
Yeah.
anyway, he's having
After 6 months, Tom, you haven't got internet.
yeah, exactly. He'll be loving that we're giving him shit, and he's not here.
And he's screening your phone calls as well. What does that say?
But yeah, he'll be back, no doubt. I'm sure he'll get withdrawal soon, and he'll come back. So, um, but yeah, no, it's been really good to have you on, Wade, and I'm looking forward to Bathurst. I am planning on coming. Yeah, we'll see how the sale goes.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
that time of the year. We had a
have you
pretty
got
big.
your-
Sorry, what you can say?
Have you got your accommodation booked yet?
No, no, I don't do that till the day before we come. Come on.
Oh well, don't let. There's only one caravan park. I don't know. The Bathurst has got like 36 pubs. I think it held the record for the most pubs for an inland
right.
city. But
Yeah, okay.
it's only got one caravan park.
Yeah, right.
So-
Yeah, well,
so-
we
so-
used a B&B, and it was really good actually. I enjoyed it
Yeah.
because it's I live on acreage on 10 acres, and it's quiet here and that's what it was like there. We just went back. It was like coming home. So it was pretty good. Enjoyed it actually.
You might
But
have
look,
to come up a couple of days early, and I'll give you some sneaky laps on our track.
oh yeah, I'll sign the indemnity form. No
Yeah.
worries. It should be
Yeah.
good. I'm not a motocrosser though. Do you have a flat track?
Yeah,
I
we've
can't.
got a pretty good flat track at home.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I hit that up. I do the motocross stuff, but I'm a bit scared of jumping. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you got to do a bit of all of it to be good at it.
Yeah. Medium tabletops, no worries. The big kickers, that's it. Because I never did motocross when I was younger. We used to ride like steppies through the sand dune,
Yeah,
little shit boxes everywhere and stuff. Never really did motocross.
yeah, right.
But yeah, I started learning to get my head around it a bit as I started racing more. And yeah, I would say I'm a very mediocre jumper,
Yeah.
but I can do it.
Very good, very good, very
But yeah,
good.
I was going to say actually when I was saying about the making sure I got the money, Kelpie actually had a ripper year, as you know, with rebranding. And yeah, I was doing some stats. I am going to do a Facebook thing or something, some social media thing.
Where'd the name Kelpie come from? Where's that
I
coming
just
from?
love the dogs. Yeah, so
That's random.
I've got three Kelpie dogs, and yeah, just actually it's our eldest one. She's so agile and fast and everything. And I was going, yeah, the way she's turning the corners and shit. I'm just going, oh, that sort of relates a little bit to me anyway.
I'm
To the
glad you
sport.
don't love shit. I'm glad you don't love Shih Tzus.
Yeah. But yeah, the new I'm not very inventive. I'm not very artistic and inventive. Like the new Enclave is my surname with the E dropped out of it, and it was
Yeah.
just just so now it's Clavar. It's very
Clavar.
very yeah. You could do it Ponce. I don't know how the Aussies are going to adapt to that
Clavar.
one, but it's actually numerology for number one, so it's worked in my favor.
Yeah,
It's fantastic. But yeah,
yeah,
as
lovely.
Kelpie, we gave away over 10 grand worth of prizes, money, back to races and sponsorship and that last year, and that's really our first year of full business. So I was pretty happy about that.
Yep.
What else did we do? Oh, we travelled 16,000 Ks racing. Yeah, lots of coaching time with people. Had a team of 3 development riders, two pro riders. Unfortunately, neither of them made it through the whole series.
Yeah,
We were
yeah.
only one day short, so it was pretty good, really. So yeah, I'm that might not sound like a lot to people, but when I started this with no bank loans or anything like that, I'm actually pretty proud of that. I think,
Yeah, I should be, mate.
and
Business.
we haven't choked yet. We're not quite dead yet, so
Not quite. Yeah, we'll
we'll
push the boundaries a little more.
we get
Next year.
close. Oh shit, we get. Sometimes I'm just going, how the hell am I going to keep this going? But
Yeah.
yeah, we managed to keep pulling it off, and that's just because of the passion. I really do love that.
Motorsport.
Yeah, I just
Motorsport's not a necessity, so it's hard to make a living in it, and it's just a tough game. So hats off to you.
Yeah,
Really,
it's tough, and that's shown at the moment with the interest rates rises, and that the first things to go are those luxury things. And
Yeah.
where our sport is losing a few people at the moment, but they'll bounce back. I'm sure they'll come back, and look forward to being here for them when they do. So
yeah, that's right.
But
No
anyway,
worries.
thanks for your time, Wade. It's been a
Thanks, Dust.
fantastic chat, and yeah, we'll keep in touch. Make sure you get your entries in January 5. Don't bother Wade beforehand because he's out of service. So
9 o'clock, January the 5th.
January the 5th, and you've got what, 8 hours to get your entry in.
Pretty well. Pretty well. I don't know. We don't want people rushing it because I guess one thing we're pretty keen is to let everybody have a go. So don't enter 5 classes if you only intend on doing 3.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I entered 3 last year, and I saw them all to the end. So I wasn't wasting my spot.
I tell you what, we all remember. You imagine a race meet of to rush, and then 22. I think was our event was, I'm led to believe, one of the very first rider net events in the country.
Oh, right.
So you know what that debacle was like. Imagine trying to open the event, close the event, open the event, close, because another problem with riding it, close it, open. Yeah, we didn't think we were going to have anyone enter by the end of it because
and then you got to deal with all the old schools that just don't
refuse to use it.
Yeah, don't like. No. I get. I actually do quite a few sort of cash transactions with people over the age of 45, pretty much. That either they don't want their wife to know what's been spent. Or their wife is the only one that knows how to use the computer, and she does a money transaction.
And I'm not telling her that I'm buying a second set of wheels.
Yeah, beautiful.
Just why do you need a second set? Because I don't want to change the tire on a day.
Sometimes I don't think it matters why you need the other thing. It's just you just need it. It's another toy.
That's right. 100%. Thanks for having me, mate.
Yep, you're very welcome. And great chat. I think everyone got a lot of good insight from that, and now knows what it takes to run Bathurst.
Take care, Das. We'll talk soon, pal.
Will do, mate. Thank you.
Bye.
Go flat tracker. Go flat tracker. Go, go, go.